Dead Island 2 offers plenty of over-the-top zombie-killing fun, especially in co-opus, but it's somewhat dragged down by technical problems. The original Dead Island was trapped in development hell, and the sequel found itself in the exact same boat. Dead Island 2 has had a notoriously rough development cycle, with the project changing hands between multiple developers and ultimately taking 9 years from its initial announcement to actually hit store shelves. Dead Island fans are used to waiting extended periods of time for games in the series, but the question is if Dead Island 2 was worth the wait. Dead Island 2 is set sometime after the events of the original Dead Island game, starring a mostly new cast of characters who find themselves stuck in a zombie-ridden Los Angeles. The playable characters in Dead Island 2 aren't particularly important, and while they have their own distinct backstories, they don't have unique character arcs. Instead, the real story comes from the interactions players have with the other survivors in Los Angeles, as they all work together to try to get out alive. Players will experience Dead Island 2's story as they complete the game's 20-plus main story quests, and over 30 side quests. Players are able to progress the main story as they'd like or set it aside to focus on side content, if they'd rather do that instead. There's surprising variety with the objectives players are tasked to complete over the course of the main story, though the side quests often have them going back through previously covered ground, making them far less engaging. Unfortunately, backtracking is far from Dead Island 2's biggest problem. Most of the bugs in Dead Island 2 are of the harmless, goofy variety and are easily fixed. Even the game-breaking ones can typically be done away with by reloading a save and losing little to no progress. On the other hand, there are bugs that grind the game's momentum to a halt and are a serious inconvenience because players may not even realize at first that the game is bugged. Multiple times throughout Dead Island 2, objectives simply would not complete after their requirements were met. This leaves players thinking that there is something they're missing, and so a lot of time is wasted trying to figure out how to progress. The only time this is really inconvenient is when the co-opus partner is unable to use any of their weapons. When this happened in our playthrough, the co-opus partner was in the middle of zombie hordes and left completely defenseless on their end. But on the host screen, they were in the safe room. As an experiment, we tried to see if we could coach them through the safe room door. On their screen, they were running into walls and making movements that didn't make sense, but on the host screen, they were heading for the exit. After they exited the safe room on the host screen, they were once again able to access their arsenal. From there, it was a matter of making it to the next objective to force the game to sync back up and get things working properly again. Most of the zombies players encounter in Dead Island 2 are the run-of-the-mill shamblers and runners, but in typical zombie game fashion, some special types are thrown into the mix. Some Dead Island 2 players may find the special zombies to be a little too tanky at first, but this becomes a non-issue thanks to the Zompedia, which is like a morbid Pokedex. Killing enough special zombies unlocks information about them that reveals their weaknesses, allowing players to outfit their loadout accordingly to make short work of the game's more powerful enemies. Dead Island 2's loot system is rewarding and, unlike other looter games, rarely ever sticks players with lackluster gear. If anything, it has the opposite problem. We often found our inventory and storage completely full, forcing us to sell or scrap high-quality weapons to make room for new stuff. It is certainly not without its issues, but Dead Island 2 is a fun co-opus game that lets players dropkick zombies, and there's something to say for mindless fun like that. It suffers from some major jank and needs a few patches to iron out its more serious issues, but those that enjoy looter games and are looking for a fun co-opus game to sink their teeth into should consider giving it a look when it's on sale.